Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the panel Unlocking NFTs for Startups. I am Fernando Moreno, a venture fellow here at Newchip, and I'll be leading this panel. To date, we will be talking about non-fungible tokens, aka NFTs. What are they? What opportunities do they represent for startups, especially the ones on our accelerator? And what are the real-life applications? Without further ado, it is a great pleasure for me to introduce our panelists today. So our first panelist is Jacob Martin. He's a managing attorney at JTM Tech Law. Jacob is a former entrepreneur that currently advises many others while raising funding. Jacob is currently working at the forefront of technology, entertainment, and law, and has been dubbed the NFT attorney. Blockchain and NFT-focused companies, clients make up the bulk of his current practice, and he advises on actively works in gray spaces as needed. So if you're looking for an attorney with a background in these topics, you need to look no further. Our second guest is Francesca Casiraghi, Francesca, co-founder and CEO of LONDONTRADEART, our marketplace that allows you to shop a curated selection of modern and contemporary art online and offers you an innovative means to invest in art through the model of fractional ownership or the purchase of shares of high-value artwork. As you can guess, LONDONTRADEART is one of the companies in our accelerator. And also Francesca is an art market and cultural economics expert with a master's degree in arts, markets, and heritage. She worked for an international art gallery and cultural institutions before founding LONDONTRADEART in 2016. Our final guest is Karsen Woods, a creative producer and brand evangelist. Karsen has concretized her reputation as an emerging but influential voice among various crypto-focused communities and the NFT ecosystem at large. She has built authority in the NFT space for her commitment to supporting artists, growing the community, and striving to dismantle hegemonic power structures and gender imbalance. Karsen consults on NFT, brand, and marketing strategy in various NFT industry verticals, including gaming, fine art, film and television, music, fashion, and technology. She also provides pro bono consulting services to emerging independent artists and musicians. Thank you so much, everyone, to be here. To kick this panel off, I would like you to start on drawing on your knowledge and experience regarding the current context of NFT, what's going on with the current trends we have seen, what has happened in the last 2 months. So to kickstart the conversation, first, Karsen, could you tell us in plain English, what is an NFT? What is a non-fungible token?
Oh, I got the hardest question. I think the plain English part. I have distilled it down to explain and understand that an NFT verifies ownership of an authenticated digital asset.
Going a little bit deeper. So basically, you are telling me that there is only one NFT that could be traced in the block. It's always through the blockchain, I guess.
So an NFT stands for non-fungible token. There are all kinds of tokens that exist on the blockchain that are considered fungible, where their value is equal. It's inarguable. Similar examples would be like Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, but an NFT as a token could represent a number of different things, and the one is never the same as another. So it all goes back to a blockchain hash, but the value, the kind of the utility and the content of that of a non-fungible token is different with each token, with each hash.
And for example, what's the main difference with a regular coin or a regular token in the Ethereum blockchain, for example? So I understand that you can also track the transactions that happen to one Ether, for example, on the blockchain. And yeah, basically that Ether is unique in that you can also track the previous history of which wallets that specific Ether has moved on in the past. So what's the additional benefit of an NFT when compared with this type of tokens?
Well, like I said, the NFT itself it verifies that ownership. So you can always trace back and really authenticate it. So for the last several years, if not, a decade, for sure a decade, digital content is being uploaded every single day to the cloud, to kind of the unknown, and there's no real way to trace it. But the NFT allows you to really see where something starts. So there's no argument or dispute to who initially created or minted that piece. And then you're able, using the blockchain as this like universal transaction ledger, you're able to see how it moves through the world and exchanges hands. And sometimes that value increases based on who held it or what has happened with that original kind of upload or artist. Something can always change. That's where the non-fungibility comes in, that the value at a certain point doesn't necessarily mean that that's the same. It has the same, less or more value in the future.
Mm-hmm. And anyone can create an NFT.
Yeah. And I think the analogy that I like to provide to people and really what helped me to understand NFTs in the simplest way is that, we have been uploading crypto media or crypto art in our own way to centralize what we call in the industry a centralized platform like Instagram or Facebook or other, social media for almost, a decade now for some of us. And essentially that is a piece of crypto art, but there's no real way to understand or to see where it started. And also there's no true ownership over it. So when you upload a picture or a story to Instagram or Facebook, you're actually permitting that platform to then own your content and it distribute it as anybody who consumes it sees fit. So what this new technology is and what it's most often used for at this time is to kind of dismantle that and to verify the ownership where it begins. I have a lot of conversations with artists, especially photographers, where their work is, they upload their work and it's very simple for Complex or, another major media outlet to just take a screenshot and post it with no real acknowledgement of the original artist or photographer in this case. So what NFTs do is provide a technology to kind of combat that.
Sounds good. But my understanding is whether that photography, artwork, or whatever you are referring to has an NFT, you can still use the online picture. Let's call it that way.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you can take you can still use that and anybody can take a screenshot. I think that's kind of the argument, but at that point, you still are able to kind of go back and identify where it originated from and who the true owner, true artist really is, which I think is just that kind of ethos, that the philosophy and sovereignty of that is where people are finding the most value in NFTs, the most intrinsic value, I think.
Terrific.
And I think I would jump in just to say that exactly the tone of how you're asking the questions is probably one of the biggest and most difficult things in NFT world right now, which is tell me what an NFT is, simple. And then someone tells you what an NFT is, simple. And then you jump into like 8 deeply niche specific questions about ownership and hashes on Ethereum and blockchain technology, right? So there is a simple NFT, right? Here's an NFT. That Picasso painted this thing once upon a time, and then Picasso put that thing on Ethereum. That's, we can get as simple as you want.
Yep.
But then when you get into the practical of, okay, how does my brand use it? How do I make money off of it? What do I own? What do you own, right? So for me, this is where Karsen and I are 2 of the first people that come to mind for a lot of NFT creators specifically. Now, companies are also talking to us, but we're hanging out in Clubhouse rooms, and both of us are talking to a lot of creatives because they're asking Karsen, hey, I do this, this, and this. How do I package and sell that? And then they're going, hey, Jacob, what did I just sell?
Yeah.
Right? Like, can I make t-shirts or can they make t-shirts? Like literally, I have a t-shirt here from a client that is an album cover from the 80s that Basquiat drew. Well, that brings about like work for hire implications from the 80s.
Yep.
We don't know it. We don't know what he signed. We don't know what the album owns, like what the record company owns. And then what if they want to NFT that? Well, I've got a t-shirt of it, so they're already licensing it somehow. So I just say that to say that the legal rabbit hole is literally question number 2 every time. Right after what's an NFT, it's just straight into, is this wrong or what am I doing? So that's
when people bring up the how too. I tend to. One time somebody said to me, have you ever used an ATM? And I was like, yeah, love ATMs. And they were like, what happens when you put your card in there? And I'm like, I don't know. I get my money out. Like I put my PIN and I get my money out. And they're like, and have you ever questioned, have you ever stood in front of the ATM and said, explain to me what's happening? Why am I able to receive this money instantly? Like, how does it work? Because
Correct.
I think, a lot of times when new technology is coming into our lives, of course, our instinct is to want to understand how it works, but the true value is how can it enrich our lives and make our lives more equitable and give us more opportunities to earn or achieve or experience happiness and opportunity.
To wrap this definition phase of the panel. So if I'm creating an NFT with a picture on it, does it mean that the picture is going to be recorded on the blockchain, or I only make a reference to the picture saying this picture that was created by Fernando 1 month ago is now an NFT just by making the reference to that specific, I don't know, the metadata of that picture, or is the picture recorded on the blockchain?
The picture represents the basically just like the address of the NFT, which is on the blockchain. Okay. So that's kind of where you get back to. Like anybody can go on Etherscan and you can look up a hash, and when you look it up, it won't necessarily show you like the image itself or the video or the audio recording or at a certain point we're going to be talking about way more than just crypto art and media, but essentially that NFT just represents an address that exists in the blockchain.
So it has an identifier number and that's referenced in the blockchain saying this wallet was able to transfer this specific token to someone else. Okay.
I can only say to that is not necessarily consistent across the market though, right? Like NBA Top Shots is a solo ecosystem built on flow. Correct. Like it's its own thing. And then Nifty Gateway, you can technically move your assets off of Nifty Gateway into your OpenSea wallet. But for the most part, most people, and Griffin and Duncan just said this last week at the Ethereal Summit, they're like, technically most transactions are off-chain. Like they're within the Nifty Gateway ecosystem. So they don't necessarily need to go on-chain to like an Etherscan mechanism. You can use a credit card, you can do it in their ecosystem. So in an ideal world, metadata, IPFS, all of those things, like that is a pure NFT, a non-fungible token tied to the blockchain, and even if the platform goes down, that thing still exists.
Correct.
But that's not how every platform operates. And that's not necessarily the business model that some will use in the future. Good luck with the definition whittling down to 30 seconds. No, if somebody has a 30-second version, that just means they didn't accept follow-up questions.
Fair enough. Francesca, moving on to the applications, I know, and we already mentioned in the panel that a lot of applications are related somehow to the art space. I know your company is specifically on that space, and it's implementing this new technology into the marketplace. Could you tell us a brief explanation of what you're trying to achieve right now? How does it work? The benefits that comes not only for your company, London Trade Art, from a business perspective, but also the investors and the now future owners of these art pieces?
First, thanks, Fernando. Yes, just a little premise, which we are all facing, this undeniable booming around NFTs, in particular associated to the art market, as already Karsen said. So I think that we are really witnessing what is a starting point for the art market. We finally start feeling a severe technological gap compared to other industries. And surely NFTs are already impacting the art world, first of all, from an economic point of view. According to the NFT report 2020, which is already not updated, of course, but no fungible tokens market has grown by 299% in 2020, with a total value of more than $250 million. So the economic aspect is already there, and of course this is just the beginning, as also, you know, auction houses, Christie's, Sotheby's are keeping investing in NFTs auctions. And I think that among all the many advantages that this technology can bring is the fact that thanks to NFTs, digital artworks can now be collected, both sold and resold, as we said, and it's a true revolution for the art market in its globality. And also traditional physical art now can be seen and owned as an equivalent in the digital world. So also at London Trade Art, as our long-term goal is to democratize art investment through the application of innovative technologies to allow the co-ownership of artworks, we had to face and consider the great advantages that NFTs could bring also to our business model. So we decided to create a portfolio of both physical and digital art, which can be co-owned through NFTs. We have already launched an art co-ownership project, which allows to buy art shares associated to NFTs directly on our website. And we are also now developing an art exchange, which will be a digital platform reproducing some characteristics of the financial trading system to allow everyone to not only become co-owners of high-value artworks, but also to resell, to trade those art shares as per any other financial stock and within a dynamic and always available market. So where NFTs play a very important role. At the end of every trade, the user will receive a digital art certificate of co-ownership in the form of a unique and irreproducible NFT linked to blockchain technology directly to the art shares acquired. So NFTs will allow for total traceability of the pieces and of the trades, guaranteeing the highest level of security and transparency of the trades that only NFTs, I think, can guarantee now.
One quick question for you, Francesca. My understanding is if you have an NFT, it is not possible to have this fractional ownership you were mentioning at the beginning. So what's the plan with these? And first, maybe I'm saying nonsense. Tell me if I'm correct, and if not, like what is the plan with these fractional ownership that you were also trying to achieve with the tangible art pieces?
Yes, that's correct. In fact, our vision is to associate NFTs not only to digital art, those crypto art, but also to physical assets. We really believe that as NFTs could really bring this renovation to, in particular, the provenance and ownership of artwork, they could be seen as just digital certificates of ownership. So in this sense, they can be applied as other industries have already done, like real estate. They can be applied to unique physical assets.
So one NFT is going to take the place of a share of an artwork, whether that is physical or virtual.
Yes, like that. Correct. So actually you are buying the shares, of course, but what you receive is non-fungible tokens. So they actually are the same thing, is that you are buying the certificate of ownership or co-ownership of that specific artwork.
Correct. And in addition to what we just mentioned about the NFTs, what advantages they have when compared to just having a regular contract, or just I don't remember exactly what system you were using before jumping into NFTs for this fractional ownership of physical artworks. What's the advantage for the end user? That at the end of the day, I think it's the one you need to be focusing on right now.
Yeah, no, of course. As we all know, provenance and ownership can be very obscure information when approaching art collecting. For us, NFT played an important role because we thought at the beginning to issue this digital certificate of co-ownership in the form of a proper certificate, which was the result of a contract drawn up by the law firm Withers for us. But there was a missing bit that I think has been filled by NFTs, because thanks to NFTs, we can issue actually in not reproducible, a unique and unexchangeable token that actually verify and guarantee the ownership. So I think that the innovative wave brought to the market by NFTs lies in the characteristics of these tokens. First of all, as we said, they are non-fungible, indivisible, meaning that they are, unlike other cryptocurrencies, unique, irreproducible, and they can create a public digital archive, a ledger of ownership, which can potentially disrupt the way that we used to access or not actually this kind of information related to art proveniences. So acquiring an NFT means owning the original art piece, as we said. In the case of LONDONTRADEART, it means owning the art shares of the original art piece, as these non-fungible tokens doesn't exist anywhere else. So as said, you can still copy and share images or replicas, but only one buyer will be the owner of the unique NFTs associated to the specific art. And as you know, the certificate of ownership will guarantee the traceability of ownership to a world which has historically been famous for being very opaque. Just think about that the black market of art is second only to the drug market, so it can bring actually an important revolution.
Absolutely. And going now into the legal stuff, Jacob. Obviously, we mentioned this before. We don't want to go down the rabbit hole, but we are seeing, especially during the last 2 months, we are seeing a lot of companies that are trying to implement the NFT technology into their business model. And a lot of them are using NFTs that have profit sharing attributes. So the first question that always comes into mind is, having these properties on an NFT creates a security, or is it basically another token that can be freely shared on the blockchain?
Yeah, so I will say that any of my comments clearly come from the United States perspective as far as the US SEC. An NFT as it exists as just simply a collectible or a work of art on any of the major platforms, which is something you can buy, you have the rights to own, and you can resell. No questions, not a security. It's going to be treated like a collectible or some kind of digital asset for the sake of taxation and ownership. There will be things like Gary Vee's project, which is a ticket to a conference for 3 years. So that's a purchased thing that has yield throughout. And that's interesting, but still, that's not a security. That's just a ticket to a conference for 3 years.
Yep.
Now, it gets really interesting when brands are trying to do brands or musicians. Let's take a musician, I guess, who wants to share royalties off of a future album sale. As of yet, that has not been solved in a way where it's not a security that runs afoul of like SEC regulations. So Blau, who's a DJ, musician, and like a top of the world NFT salesman, Blau in 2017 worked with a top-notch law firm and the SEC to create a music festival that they held in San Francisco. And your ticket was an NFT. And by purchasing the ticket, you were going to get a percentage revenue share of how the music festival went. And the SEC ended up saying, that's the security, you can't do that. And so if it had been a security, and then they would have been in weird, like accredited investor territory and other things, right?
Correct.
So the typical NFT, purchase, sell, own it, not a security. Use cases for revenue share on films or albums or whatever. As of right now, I mean, I'm not saying it's a security because the SEC has pinned this, but based on simple look at Howey Test and based on how other projects have already been shut down over time, it's just pretty clearly a security. I think fractional ownership, some people think fractional NFTs is like gray space. I don't think it's that gray. I think there's masterworks.io who does traditional art fractionalized. There's Rally who does traditional art fractionalized, kind of. They use a series LLC. And then there's Dibs, which does fractionalized like basketball cards or baseball cards or whatever, collectibles. All of those groups register their works with the SEC. Like all of their paintings are securities. So every fraction of their painting is a security. And you're going to get a 1099 based on gains and losses based on your fractions performance. So I think some of it's pretty clear, and most people steer away from that stuff. But I think there's Mark Cuban is behind it. A bunch of other big players are really behind the future of fractionalized NFTs. I do think it will happen. I do think there will be ways to solve it. But for the most part, under the US SEC regs, like those fractions will be securities.
Yep. Francesca, I don't know if you want to add anything about the requirements you may have as a foreign entity in well, not in the US, but just in the European Union and in London. Yeah.
No, of course, I think that the law still have to figure it out, tax and duties to be applied to NFTs, in particular to the co-ownership, fractional ownership of NFTs. I do believe that there's something already done, at least in the UK, that we are discussing with our lawyers, of course. We are not applying to regulation of fractional ownership of NFTs, but just regulation of ownership of NFTs, because we won't split the NFTs, but we will create multiple NFTs. But yes, I do believe that the road is very long to understand how to deal with these topics.
Correct. And yeah, and a few seconds ago you mentioned, Jacob, that you can see them as collectibles, right? And we have seen NBA Top Shot, the different art pieces that are being sold on auctions that are basically, again, collectibles, and also the in-game items such as the Decentraland and other platforms that are already using NFTs for tracking the authenticity of a specific item in-game, right? So we are seeing all these type of applications. Some of them are like a boom. Obviously, there is a lot of concerns regarding the real, how do you call it? The real life money that is being put into some of these collectibles. Some of them are saying, hey, this is a bubble. They are inflating the prices artificially by buying it themselves several times to create this historic track of that the specific asset is increasing in value. We have seen ups and downs in the last few weeks for the real price of each of these NFTs. What's going to happen from here? So do you see that this technology is going to be applied to other industries as well? Do you think it's going to stay on the art and gaming industry so far? What are your thoughts on what's next for the NFTs?
Yeah, I've got clients doing really interesting things with NFTs. I mean, when you think of it as like from the unique identifier and like tracking perspective, right? So authentication on shoes or Swiss watches or whatever. I have a client that's putting QR codes on vegetables that are being shipped from South America all over the world, right? And they're using blockchain tracking to do that. I have a client who's working in Hollywood and they're planning to sell IP, whether that's a script or a film or a show or whatever, sell IP using, okay, so really NFTs at some point will be used interchangeably with smart contracts. Like, in my opinion, this is just the moment that smart contracts go mainstream. And by that, I mean, there will always be a physical real world contract so that it can be litigated if necessary. But smart contracts literally remove multiple human hands from the process of accounting, of money movement, of tracking when things were shipped and delivered and where everything is. Like, smart contracts will just ping, this moved here, this money moved here, and these 12 people got paid 12%, 2%, 0.5%, here's your royalty check.
Yep.
There's no reason that an actor in Hollywood should have to pay a business manager and an accountant and because they're getting like 40 different royalty checks every month, one for 7 cents and one for $7 million. It should all just be automatic. It should just ping right over, and we should cut out multiple middlemen. So long term, I think, like I mentioned the Gary Vee thing, that's his ticket to his conference. Like, his theory is that 10 years from now, no ticket to any sporting event, or every ticket to every sporting event, will be an NFT. Period. There's no reason that it's not digitally tracked. It will be mass produced. Even if there's 10,000 people at the event, they'll put it on a blockchain that's probably not Ethereum, so that it costs like 2 cents per. And you will have your digital unique identifier. It's easy to let you into the event with your digital thing. You don't lose it. And you don't lose it or throw it away in the trash can afterwards. You can always look back and say, I went to this event on this date and I did this here. So I'm personally less bullish on art and collectibles than I am on smart contracts generally being utilized at an enterprise level.
You mentioned,
but I think they'll both be used.
As a quick follow-up question, Jacob, you mentioned not on Ethereum. Do you have any other blockchain that comes to your mind, or any other other system that would allow NFTs? Because right now most of NFTs are running on the Ethereum blockchain. So I don't know if you have, like, in the future, which one do you think is going to be the go-to system to work on NFTs? Is it going to be Cardano?
In the short-term future, I think it's going to be Matic. MATIC, right? So Matic, that's the token. Polygon's the company. OpenSea has done a huge beta with them. That beta is over. It's now, minting is live on Matic, and Matic has gone from this is not financial advice, but Matic has gone from 17 cents 3 months ago to like $1.20 right now. Like, it's gone 10x in 2 or 3 months, and it's not just because speculation trading has increased. It's because like utility on the network has increased, right? Like traffic. And it's still happening for like 20 cents a transaction compared to $600. So I'm not sure who will win the race personally. I think, there's Wax, there's Tezos, there's Near. Near is coming. They've got a couple of platforms up. They're the only certified carbon neutral blockchain in the world. That's interesting to me. Like, everybody's like, ooh, environment. And companies like Nifty Gateway are paying a huge carbon offset to try to show, hey, we know that we're using Ethereum, but we're going to double down on our carbon offset, which is cool. Like, nobody else has doubled down on that. But like, is that good enough still long term? I don't know. So I think it's interesting, like, to see. It's going to be, I say Nifty Gateway mainly because they are the leaders. They're the ones out front. So they chose to pay the double carbon offset. Whatever they move to next, if they move off of Ethereum, that will be the moment where I think everyone else will officially follow. So I would keep my eyes on whatever they do next.
A lot of players then are playing for getting the market. Karsen, what are your thoughts on the future of NFTs? What's going to happen?
It's such a good question. I think when we talk about non-fungibility and like the exchange of tokens, like I truly believe that one of the greatest opportunities of NFTs is also just that the value per person, per artist, per company is also kind of non-fungible in its own way, because NFTs present an opportunity as a marketplace, as a medium, as a marketing mechanism, as an enhancement or amplifier to a larger business strategy. I think, just the blockchain in general, and, more of a decentralized digital future provides self-sovereignty. And I think we're living in a world right now where we're not really paying attention, or we're not really acknowledging the real fears around our personal data being stored by big corporations. And I think that, what the blockchain provides and what a decentralized digital future provides is some reclaiming of that, of our identities in a way, whether it's by way of our work or, our personal information, our money, whatever that looks like. I'm super eager, to see how brands implement NFTs without shifting their entire business strategy, but really just, implementing them and allowing them to enhance a branded experience. I am a huge advocate for people with disabilities, for marginalized communities, and I have tried to coin or kind of share this term that comes to mind, which is crypto culture for me. And I've been an obsessive, architect and anthropologist of pop culture. And I think crypto culture is the next wave. And what it means to me is just the opportunities for individual happiness to promote communal bonding, because I think that we can be bound together in a decentralized fashion. And I think NFTs in their current use case for crypto media and crypto art really are just the start. It's just like it's barely 1% of what this can offer and what this can provide. And I've seen so many people's lives change, and, my life has changed, and I'm very eager to push this forward and to, be a part of a community that is committed to driving this with the power of good, because technology is such an enhancement to our lives and provides us so much privilege and opportunity. But there's still a massive amount of people who this technology is inaccessible for, and I'm hoping that through NFTs and through the blockchain and in the fact that it's just constantly awaiting a change agent or an innovator or an inspiration, we're going to have a future that is much more equitable for everybody and balanced and fair and well distributed and just happy and safe. So that's kind of my whole philosophy. Is there's a strong ethos behind it, and if people are making money also and feeling confident and they have that provenance, then I think people are happier also. Correct.
No, and I totally agree with you, Karsen, in that not only the users that are very involved in the NFT space right now, or the ones that are excited about cryptocurrencies, are interested in the potential uses of NFTs, especially as you mentioned before, like what am I giving in terms of information to the banks or other companies, Google, Facebook, whatever, instead of that, if I'm able to have some ownership of what I'm actually doing, if I'm able to do it by myself using this type of decentralization, is going to be something that is requested by most people right now.
Definitely.
Francesca, I want to hear from you. What are your thoughts specifically on the art space? Like I mentioned before, this concern of people just artificially inflating the prices of art pieces, but also there is a huge benefit from the artist point of view in that they are able to authenticate themselves, they are able to authenticate their artworks, and then making sure that the process is, as you mentioned before, completely kosher in terms of there is no black market, there is no illegal photocopies or replicas or anything like that. So what are your thoughts on what is next in terms of NFTs in the art space?
Yes, of course, NFTs bring regulation to the digital art world, giving the opportunity to digital artists, as you said, to finally authenticate their works and also regulate copyrights of the works. So subsequent resales, for example, might generate the automatic payments of a royalty to the artist, and this is clearly an attractive prospect. So I think that everyone is very eager to be part of this process and see how it will evolve over the time. And also the fact that NFTs are not replicable or interchangeable means that they can really solve some other big issues related to the art market, as we already mentioned, provenance and ownership. And sorry if I insist on this point, but I think that the creative industries will take a great advantage from this new recording system, and also in a broader sense if applied to physical assets. So honestly, I've been told about bubbles that could be applied to NFTs, but honestly, I don't think it's a bubble. I think that NFTs came to stay, at least in the art world. Let's just think about the fact that also internet generated the dot-com bubble in the early 2000s, but that didn't mean that internet itself was a bubble. NFTs are already bringing many advantages to the art industry, finally innovating it from a technological point of view, but also from a regulatory point of view. So unlike, for example, the cryptocurrencies world, I don't see any speculative application or intention in a wider sense if we intend NFTs as digital certificates of ownership. However, I believe that we will see an adjustment in terms of enthusiasm in collecting NFTs. So the road ahead is very long and uncertain, but I hope that for once the art market will lead the way for many other sectors to adapt.
Correct. Yeah, so in NBA Top Shop, for example, is one example that comes to my mind. Obviously, the prices skyrocketed in a few days, and then some of them crashed down, right? So I guess it's that hype that, oh, this is the next big thing. This is the next opportunity for me to make some really quick and easy money, because I wasn't able to capitalize on the Bitcoin run of the last 10 years. Now I'm able to do it on the NFT space. I feel a lot of people are thinking like that, and because it's so easy now, because as we mentioned before, you don't have to be an accredited investor. You just need to create a wallet and you can buy whatever you want online. It's so easy for them to, let's call it that way, invest sometimes. Sometimes it's not that they are collecting the NFTs or collecting art pieces. It's more like they see an opportunity to create some profit, right? And I think that's perfectly fine. Because it drives innovation, it drives more people to the market, and eventually more and more applications will be developed during the next few months, right? Yeah, I don't know, Jacob, any other thoughts about what's the future NFTs regarding if it's a bubble, not a bubble, potential future applications in maybe also in the legal space. As you mentioned before, we have the smart contracts coming really, really fast into play. New blockchains are going to be allowing smart contracts pretty soon. What are the next steps for the NFTs regarding that?
I think it's very difficult to explain the market right now as it exists as not a speculative place. Mm-hmm. Like the one thing that I always try to remind people is like, if you look at the marketplaces currently, most people who are creating art are also collecting art. It's not like there's only 5,000 creators and there's 5 million collectors. So there's an interesting imbalance right now, I think, of like, thanks to Ethereum and Bitcoin running so high, there are some people with just 20, 30, $100 million they never had before. They can spend it however they want. But it isn't like there's just this massive collector class of people that just emerged out of nowhere who decided we want to spend thousands of dollars on art because we love art. So it's an interesting grapple to look at what it is right now, what people are hoping it will be in 10 years. Yeah, I can't say that I am confident that someone who just paid $1 million for a CryptoPunk will ever pay $20 million for a Basquiat. But at the same time, I don't know if anyone who ever just paid $100 million for a Basquiat will ever pay $20 million for a CryptoPunk, right? So if you look at one of my favorite fun facts from the Christie's Beeple auction, like the $69 million Beeple auction, 91% of bidders who signed up to bid on that had never signed up with Christie's before.
Okay.
It literally wasn't art bidders. It literally was the technology bidders. So if 91% of the bidding pool on one piece has never even been to the auction house before, then you have it's a Venn diagram of collectors. It's literally two different markets. So I feel like that's not being like maybe paid attention to enough or given enough credit right now. I'm not exactly sure what to do with it, but getting NFTs mainstreamed into art is totally a different conversation, and it's slower. It's not there yet, right? Like we've had NFTs at auction houses, but that doesn't mean we saw bids from Hong Kong on CryptoPunks. So I don't know. I don't know what is really next. Like I said, I'm working on projects as they show up. I think use cases that include smart contracts really well are really cool. The Mad Dog Jones piece, that's an NFT that replicates itself via smart contract timer. That's a whole nother hour-long conversation, but that's really interesting. And that one is an NFT that has a yield, right? Because it creates new NFTs. So is that one a security? If it pays you dividends in new NFTs on a predetermined randomized timer? I don't know. I won't answer that. I have no idea.
That's a really complicated conversation.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Only time will tell. And as we like to say, there's no time in crypto. So
yeah.
How do you get to that question? How do you get to that answer? You know?
Definitely.
Yeah. So you just move fast and you break things, and then you call Karsen, and then you call me, and you get your marketing straight, and you try to get your legal straight, and then you just go for it. That's the math.
Let's jump in.
So for all the viewers, if you have any questions, please connect with Jacob. Please connect with Karsen. They will tell you what to do next. So yeah, unfortunately we are running out of time. So Francesca, Jacob, Karsen, thank you so much for sharing all this knowledge with us. I really enjoy learning about NFTs, and hopefully we will see what's going to happen in the future pretty soon. Francesca, obviously, I'll be in touch with you. Hopefully you can give me some feedback of what's going on in that space and seeing if it's actually good for your company or you are going back to your original plans. But definitely
we'll stick to the plan, hopefully. Thank you very much, Fernando.
And again, thanks everyone. Thanks everyone for tuning in to this panel. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And thank you for Newchip for hosting it. And I hope you enjoy the rest of Demo Week. So thanks again. See you in a bit.